Flight Risk is the latest film from director Mel Gibson. This movie stars Michelle Dockery as a U.S. Marshal who has just caught up with Winston, played by Topher Grace. He was a former accountant for the Moretti crime family. They're about to arrest him when he says, "I'll make a deal." So now they gotta, take him out of Alaska, take him to where the trial is, and they have a pilot, played by Mark Wahlberg, Daryl Booth, helping them out with that. It's a very rickety, small plane, very claustrophobic feeling setting. It seems like, maybe a bit of a bumpy ride because of the turbulence, but smooth sailing from here. We got our guy. Oh, what's this on the ground? Topher Grace is looking at this thing on the ground. Oh, it's Daryl Booth, the name, but it's next to a different picture. Oh no, Mark Wahlberg is a hitman, and now we're in for a thriller for the next 90 minutes. Obviously, Mel Gibson is incredibly controversial all the time, right? But, at a time, he was kind of on top of the world as far as Hollywood goes, very celebrated actor. And as far as him as a director, yeah, Braveheart is a fantastic movie. And even, a couple years back with Hacksaw Ridge, he showed that he still had it in him, that's a very well-made movie as well. So it was kind of surprising to me when, the trailers for this came out and it was like, wow, this just seems, as far as like him directing it just seems very stripped back, very simple as far as what, I guess maybe this is all you can work on nowadays because of everything. But it was like, okay, well, he wants to make it though, and Mark Wahlberg is in it, and he's playing a villain, he's not a hero, so okay, maybe we're gonna get something interesting out of this. Any filmmaker that wants to make like a bottle film where you're in such a contained setting, that is a challenge, but it could prove some really great results if you're creative and know what you're doing. And here's the thing, the minute this movie opened and Topher Grace is like, "What's that noise outside of my cabin in Alaska?" and he opens the window and there's just a CGI moose kind of staring in, that's when I kind of knew, like, oh, this isn't gonna be good, is it? Just instantly. Sometimes you can just tell, one CGI effect, and then, followed up by Topher Grace never shutting up. He's in full kind of like comedy shtick mode. Hey, sometimes a joke lands, a lot of times it doesn't. And as far as like creating sympathy for this guy, who Topher Grace plays, who's going to be hunted down by Mark Wahlberg, it's kind of like, I could give or take. You know what I mean? Hate to say it, but I mean, dude, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, the batting average is so off. Some of it could be the writing. I think maybe also what's realistic is that maybe Mel Gibson was just like, just go, man. Just whatever comes into your head, just do it. And he was just like, I don't know. What do I just be a smartass all the time? Okay. And that's kind of the whole character right there. I guess Michelle Dockery is the best character in this just because there's not a lot to her, and I know that sounds like a backhanded compliment. I guess it kind of is. Like, she was just able to shine just based off of she isn't annoying, she's not always saying bad jokes, she's just kind of like reacting to things around her, and, trying to be as competent, to fight off, Mark Wahlberg as she can, That's why she's good in this, because she's like got nothing going on. There's something going on with her, but just the nature of the story. It's a tight 90-minute movie, so you only get some backstory and like some, passing dialogue real quick. If you miss it, you're lost, right? So that's kind of it. Mark Wahlberg is fascinating in this for a very weird reason, just based off of like when he comes on and he's doing his country accent. It's like, okay, he's committed, it's not bad. But then as soon as, the secret's kind of out and he switches back to his normal accent, but he's just like talking crazy, that's when his performance gets very like annoying, and when his dialogue also drops off as well, where he's also it's like they're trying to inject comedy through his like vague sexual assault threats, and sexual violence threats. Like, there's a lot of that, and not directed at the woman, believe it or not. It's like directed at Topher Grace. He's like, "Hey, Twiggy," all the time. Like, "We're gonna have fun later, Twiggy. Yeah, just you wait. You'll see, Twiggy. I'm gonna give you a purple nurple." And it's like, what the fuck? Like, it really drops off to a point where it's like, I am watching a cartoon character is what I'm watching here. Like, this suspenseful thriller, and he's just a fucking joke. And also, the space itself, like I was saying earlier, presents a challenge to any filmmaker to try to make these bottle films work. But, if you're really creative, you know how to get that done. And every, like, attempt they have at, like, injecting some suspense and, like, all right, Mark Wahlberg, he's got to get out of those cuffs at some point, right? Or he's going to get loose at some point. every single thing they do is kind of boring and just kind of flat to me, It was like, ugh. And, it doesn't help that this movie is not really directed, not like poorly. Sometimes it is. There's a lot of bad edits, I would say. Like, we mentioned the visual effects. There's a couple bad visual effects shots. And it's just, some of the ways, like, the camera is just kind of, like, thrown in and it's cutting away, it's shaking. It's like, you want to generate suspense just based off of the pure chaos of this, and you're in a tight space, you're trying to get your bearings, but it's not really coming through, at least for me, watching the movie. I was saying before how I was surprised that this is a movie that Mel Gibson even wanted to direct just based off of what he's done before, and I'm still kind of wondering that. I think it is the thing I said, like maybe this is the only thing he could get that they'd let him do or something like that. But as far as like his skill as a director, it's not like he's proven anybody wrong or anything like that. It's like, nah, this could have been directed by anybody. In fact, if you told me this was a first-time filmmaker, I wouldn't be surprised. If you're telling me it's Academy Award winning, Academy Award nominated at least, Mel Gibson, fuck. I shouldn't be saying that. I should be saying fucking Hollywood ambassador to Donald Trump, Mel Gibson, one of the special talented voices in Hollywood, right? If this is the movie he wants to release after getting that honor, woof. Jesus Christ. Even the way the movie wraps up, it ends on like this very, no spoilers, but it ends on like this very awkward shot where I was like, is this gonna cut? And then when it cut, it went to directed by Mel Gibson. I was like, oh, that's the end of the movie. Oh shit. What the fuck? As far as like character writing, like I said, they try to squeeze in as much as they can. And, like I said, as far as like the character dynamics, it's really like Michelle Dockery and Topher Grace's chemistry as they try to like fend off Mark Wahlberg, get around him, whatever. Like I said earlier, it's just an off batting average of sometimes they're very annoying, but then other times it's fine. Like maybe they got a good one in. They're also trying to work out another conspiracy that's happening away from the plane, off camera. You never see anything regarding that. And the way they also try to wrap that up in a very quick manner, like I said, with that kind of abrupt cut to directed by Mel Gibson credit, it's like, yeah, none of that ends up being satisfying or even that interesting. It's, all fairly kind of predictable. There's these little moments where like like Topher Grace will be like, don't shoot him, we need him. But then other times be like, I told you should have killed him when you had the chance. Why don't you just do it? It's like, you just inconsistent. But then you'll also have like Mark Wahlberg being like, you can't shoot me because what if it goes right through me and hits the plane and then it hits a gas pipe and then, oh, we're running out of fuel. What are you going to do then? But then he also has no problem firing the gun later. Of course, they try to wave that away with like, he doesn't care if he lives or dies. And those kind of characters, you're riding a fine line there as far as like they don't care if they live or die. It has to be, you kind of have to have the perfect set of circumstances, right? And Mark Wahlberg, who's going to be paid a lot of money for perfectly executing this hit, I don't think that's the kind of character who should not care if he lives or dies. Overall, this is just like another simple thriller that unfortunately does not get elevated by the good qualities about it. Instead, it's really brought down. It's weird how like this and Presence are coming out on the same weekend because one, Presence is like a simple idea executed with some really great skills, some really interesting ideas, and this one is just fairly generic all the way through. It doesn't have any suspense. It's just kind of like you're waiting for them to hit the beats, the crowd-pleasing beats, and then they're out. I can't really recommend this just based off of, it just felt very generic. Like you could find literally any other thriller that has, some good cinematography, maybe a good musical score, some jokes that actually work and help like alleviate certain moments of tension, right? But it's also it's not awful. It's not like the worst thing I've ever seen. Like I said, acting in parts is solid. I don't want to diss on the premise completely. It's a solid idea. I just kind of wish it pushed some boundaries a bit more, got maybe a bit more creative. I don't really have a lot of reason to hate this. It's just, I don't really have a lot of positive to say though. It's just very much so right in the middle. Sorry, Mr. Ambassador. I'm gonna give Flight Risk a C. Would not recommend you check this out. I know, Mark Wahlberg, everyone's favorite superstar, right? He's doing a villain role. It's a weird villain role. I would say not a great one. Acting or writing-wise, it doesn't really work. The comedy is very on and off. The lead characters just aren't... What do I care about, and I don't. There's no intrigue. It's very predictable. But you could watch it, you know, if you have nothing going on, if you just want some noise in the background, you can have it on. It's not like horribly offensive, you know. They have some ideas for when they're in that plane, just they don't really push it. It's not really paced very well either, so you kind of lose a lot. Ah, man, just get bored talking about it. But if you've seen Flight Risk, leave your thoughts in the comments below what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.